The 1.6 update of Stardew Valley saw, among other things, the introduction of the Desert Festival, a 3-day festival in the Calico Desert that includes villager shops, races, free desert cuisine, other merchants, and a variety of quests for the player to take on. Among everything added during the 1.6 update, the Desert Festival seems to be a fan favorite, and in order to access it, all the player has to do is unlock and restore the bus. There's just one problem though. The Desert Festival is in spring, and not only that, it begins on Spring 15, meaning it's only 2 full weeks before the start of the season, and in year 1, the beginning of the game. While many players have likely completed all of the various community center bundles or JoJo bundles to advance their game to things like perfection, unlocking the bus in spring of the first year is definitely no small feat, and to cut that time down in order to catch the very first Desert Festival to only 2 in-game weeks might just seem impossible. But I love impossible. And the idea of trying to get to the Desert Festival inside of spring of year 1 is an idea I've been sitting on for a while now. So I decided I wanted to give it a try and see if I could make it to the Desert Festival in that very first in-game year. Obviously, we're going the community center route. Respectfully, doing a JoJo run wouldn't feel like a challenge in my opinion, but doing so does require that you complete 4 bundles, as that's what you'll need to be able to even unlock the vault, in addition to the 42,500 gold you'll need to be able to complete the vault bundles. And while the Desert Festival does go until spring 17, meaning you might technically have until the 16th to be able to complete this challenge, I want to be able to see all 3 days, which means our deadline is spring 14. There's something about me that just makes me want to require that things are harder on myself when it comes to Stardew challenges. Maybe it's because I really love how I'm able to push the game and see what I'm actually able to accomplish. Or maybe it's because I believe my parents will finally love me if I'm able to show how good I am at some indie farming game from 2016. Anyways, the main point is that I would just like to be able to keep the game moving in as many aspects as I can while trying to achieve this ultimate goal. I think if I only focused on selling every single item in the game and worrying about nothing else, it wouldn't feel as authentic to me and the accomplishment wouldn't feel as impactful if I was successful. So during this challenge, I'd like to maintain some other game advancements as I can. Things like donating artifacts and minerals to the museum, passing along birthday gifts, and working on other bundles even if they aren't part of the core 4 to get access to the vault. I do always try to dance with someone at the flower dance, preferably the person I'm planning on marrying on that file, and my chat encouraged me to go for Harvey since 1, he is my favorite, and it's actually been like 3 years since I've done a Harvey marriage on my streams. We obviously won't get to the flower dance, but getting about at least 2 hearts feels like a good goal. I don't typically do a lot of tool upgrades in the first season, but I want to try to complete some as the gameplay allows. For example, if I manage to get rain in the second week, getting my watering can should be a priority, and I'd like to get my first backpack upgrade done like I normally would in the first week or 2. Most people also know that strawberries are usually a pretty big priority in that first spring, and I normally opt to get about 50 in my playthroughs, but for this one I want to make sure that I'm able to secure at least 20 so I'm not fully abandoning my playstyle. Also, as a note, I don't do seeded files, meaning I don't use specific seeds in order to optimize my runs. I'm also not a fan of the playstyle of constantly resetting days in an effort to get the perfect route for that day before proceeding. I always try my best, but there's definitely times where I mess up where I do things like forget something back at the farm and have to run back and lose out on time. And that's just personally how I think challenges should be, because infinite do-overs essentially removes any of the stakes that are involved in actually taking on a challenge, in my opinion. Sometimes the challenge itself is learning to overcome your own bozo behavior. I'm pretty good at managing decent earnings in the first season of Stardew, with a pretty standard goal of earning 100k cumulative by the end of the first season. But I usually only have about 25k accumulated by the end of week 2, which is not going to cut it this time. One of the main elements of the game I'm going to try to use to my advantage for this run is specifically choosing the Riverland farm as my map. The Riverland farm got a nice little buff in the 1.6 update with the addition of a free fish smoker, also added in 1.6, now being included if you choose this map. Normally locked behind a 10,000 gold recipe price tag at Willie's shop, plus the ingredients needed to craft it, the smoker doubles the sell price of any fish smoked while also retaining quality and subsequently sell price. Coupling that with things like the fisher profession that should be achievable in these first few weeks of gameplay could land us some smoked fish that can be sold for really good cash. It only takes a cumulative 2,150 experience to achieve fishing 5 as well, so while I'm probably going to sell a little bit of fish in the first few days, I think I'm going to ultimately choose to sit on a lot of the fish I catch, especially especially those higher valued ones, so I can earn that 25% sell price increase, whether I'm able to sell them smoked or raw later on. Another strategy I'm going to be utilizing is the tea sapling strategy, where players befriend Caroline to 2 hearts, gaining access to her greenhouse and subsequently the recipe for tea saplings. This strategy does not typically have anything to do with growing the saplings and harvesting their leaves, which we don't have time for anyways, but instead outright selling the saplings for a profit in the earliest parts of the game. However, one caveat to this is that as this has become a pretty popular strategy the last several years, it looks like Concerned Ape may have caught on to this as the sell price for individual saplings was nerfed, going from selling for 500 gold each to only 250 in the 1.6 update. It's debated whether it's still a worthwhile investment now, but in my opinion it is, and we're already on such a short timeline that we've really got to take all we can get. But tying this back to the smoker utilization, smoked fish are considered artisan goods, and in many cases, artisan goods are universal likes for many NPCs. When I'm normally trying to befriend Caroline in the early game, I hope and pray for things like fish tacos and summer spangles at the saloon or traveling cart, but usually rely on quality daffodils for liked gifts with her. But now with smoked fish, I can easily manage something like iridium quality carp, smoke them, and give her iridium quality liked gifts, while still not being as impactful as loved gifts is still a better option than other liked gifts, as it's only 13 points less in friendship value than a loved gift. And hopefully this can help accelerate our friendship to unlock those tea saplings earlier in week 2 than I normally tend to manage. Aside from these 2 big pillars of earnings, I'm still going to try to do things like earn revenue from farming, mining, and foraging. I'll definitely still be pushing my earnings where I can with crops, along with selling minerals I find in the mines or forage I'm not using for saplings around town. I will definitely be prioritizing good luck days for fishing in hopes of securing more treasure chests, as their frequency is supposed to be tied to daily luck. Securing some minerals or valuable items might really help advance the game and potential profit earnings a lot more effectively, and I'll probably opt to go to the mines on the other days to work on mining and combat skills. If I can find something like a Neptune's Glaive in a fishing treasure chest for the mines, it'll definitely help that advancement, as I'm hoping to at least reach the frozen mines to be able to farm a bit of coal as needed for the smoker. The Desert Festival does not actually require you to reach the bottom of the mines and acquire the Skull Key, at least for those 3 days, but like everything else, I still want to make some decent progress and find a weapon that is a little more tolerable for the Skull Caverns during the festival. That still leaves the 4 bundles I'm going to need to complete in order to even access the vault to restore the bus, and I do think I have a few plausible options. Obviously, the first bundle should be spring foraging, which I'll hopefully be able to complete on spring 6 when you're typically able to access the bundle for the first time, which will then unlock the pantry and the fish tank. Spring crops should be another doable bundle, although unless the crop fairy shows up, that will be unattainable until spring 13, when I typically run the cauliflower up after the egg festival. 2 other options would be the exotic foraging and crab pot bundles, but both of those are definitely going to be traveling cart and or mines dependent, with things like cactus fruits, coconuts, or crabs. And I do think it's definitely going to come down to needing at least 1, if not 2 bundles in the boiler room to make sure we get access to the vault. Completing the boiler room is usually a spring year 1 task for me, so I'm not too worried, but things like a fire quartz is definitely going to come down to fishing luck, and the ore for a gold bar will likely have to be purchased from Clint, as there's probably no way we're getting to floor 80 in the mines by spring 14. The first day of any new farm probably starts off similarly for most folks the way it does for me, where you begin by clearing out the farm so you can start growing crops along with collecting materials like wood for a chest and other craftables. But for me on this farm, there will be a few additional specific things I'm hoping to find. The first thing I'm looking for is mixed seeds, which have a 5% chance to drop from weeds if they don't first drop a piece of fiber. Mixed seeds can be planted to grow some of the corresponding season's crops and are a free way to earn more money from farming. I'm usually hoping to get a cauliflower from a mixed seed on the first day, as not having to buy them allows me to invest more money in potato seeds. And that went super well for me. Huge would be if I get a cauliflower. Darn. The other item I'm looking for is coal, which has a chance to be found when breaking rocks, including those on the farm. Obviously, with the fish smoker being a central focus for money earning on this farm, we're going to need as much coal as we can to smoke as many fish as the gameplay allows. And I did manage 1 on the first day. I made sure to run around town, stopping by the secret woods to grab a morel for the exotic foraging bundle, as well as a nice crop of spring onions to not only increase my foraging level, but save up for energy replenishment later on. Spring onions. Oh, my beloved. You'll never do me wrong. I managed to find my first artifact as well, which meant a quick day 1 donation and an extra 250G to buy more seeds at Pierre's. One of the ways I like to maximize friendship with Caroline is avoiding talking to all other NPCs for the first few days, as the quests the game generates for you will only pull from NPCs you've spoken to, barring some standard quests that, while assigned to individual NPCs, aren't friendship related. I don't always have the best odds with this because either I just don't get a quest from Caroline in those first few days, or if I do, she does something like ask for a potato on day 2, which is typically not going to work out well. But it's always worth a shot at least, and I managed to quickly introduce myself to her on day 1 with my fingers crossed. Day 2 is unfortunately a bad luck day, but I'm definitely going to spend it fishing since I don't have any other real options for now. I grabbed my fishing rod from Willie, ran back up to Pierre's to say hi to Caroline before her aerobics class started, and then headed for the mountain lake. It's my personal opinion that the mountain lake is a really good spot to fish in the first spring because 1, the fish all remain relatively easy to catch regardless of skill level, but also 2, for the chance at catching a largemouth bass before 7 p.m. for consistent earnings. I managed to hit fishing 1, 2, and 3 all on day 2 and decided that I would sell just enough fish to be able to purchase the fiberglass rod on the next day. And I did also manage the first iridium carp I needed to smoke as a gift for Caroline later. Day 3 is infamously a fixed rain day, and I am going to opt to try to prioritize catfish on this day, as getting silver or even gold quality catfish could yield some really nice returns from the smoker later on. I tried checking the bulletin board today, and there was a quest for Clint. Ew. And it's like what I mentioned before, where I also really can't even do it yet since the mines don't open until the 5th, but of course he'd ruin that. Anyways, I did pick up my fiberglass rod from Willie and ended up finding an eel in a trash can on my trip around town as well. I managed to catch several catfish and definitely didn't miss any, but with a decent level of luck today, I also managed quite a few treasure chests, including one with the amphibian fossil, and most importantly, one with a Neptune's glaive, and of course the strange doll with it as well. Dare I say, this is the run? This sword is an incredible pull in the first few days because even just its basic attack stats put it miles ahead of the rusty sword you're given by Marlin when you enter the mines, and can make those first sets of floors so much easier to descend. And back to the strange doll, or as we affectionately identify it, the Bobo doll, I'm keeping this as my good luck charm. I planted the rice shoots I got from the other treasure chests for the day and sold just enough to be able to buy the first coffee for Harvey tomorrow. I also managed to achieve fishing 4 today just before 6 p.m, so I still had plenty of time to close some of the remaining 850 experience gap to fishing 5 before the day's end. I was worried day 4 was off to a bad start when there was only 1 spring onion waiting for me in Cindersap until I checked the bulletin board and couldn't believe my eyes when we did in fact have a quest from Caroline. And it's a quest we can actually do. I am starting to feel way too confident this early in our first attempt of this run, but I'll take it. I ran Caroline's first smoked fish gift to her and grabbed a coffee that I dropped off to Harvey at the clinic, but not before introducing myself first, obviously. I should probably talk to him first, shouldn't I? It's a pleasure to meet you. I did also hit fishing 5 today, which is perfect, but I can't sell anything yet until the level 5 skills tree selection is made and actually takes effect overnight. But with that accomplishment out of the way, I spent a good portion of the evening clearing more debris on the farm in hopes of finding more coal, which actually worked out pretty well. Even though I haven't sold much, I have met the 1K threshold needed to unlock the pet, and Marnie is waiting on my doorstep first thing on Friday the 5th. I opted for the name Fish Stick for my new farm cat before collecting my first wave of parsnips to hit farming 1. I ran down to the traveling cart, and there were a few good items that would normally entice me, but with basically no money and no strong need for them, I left empty-handed. I made sure to grab Caroline's parsnip for her quest, which yields a whopping 150 friendship points for completing. Today was also our first day in the mines, and I managed to get 5 levels before remembering I hadn't interacted with the community center to trigger the wizard's letter tomorrow. So after doing that, I quickly managed another 5 floors to get to floor 10. I had also already forgotten that I did opt to remix the mines rewards on this file, but unfortunately a wooden blade is no match for the Neptune's glaive this time around. Now with a bit of coal and a 25% sell price increase, it's time to start smoking fish. Of course, another one of these smoked fish needs to go to Caroline for her second gift this week, and we're looking amazing, honestly. I also somehow managed a quest yesterday from Harvey for a smallmouth bass and made sure to run that over to him as well. I ran the spring forage up to the community center to complete the first of 4 needed bundles, which also unlocks the pantry and the fish tank. One of the bundles I'm hoping for is the crab pot bundle, which is definitely in part traveling cart and or mines dependent, but also beach forage dependent, and I'm worried about the crab pot. However, I did decide to do some more fishing today, and lo and behold, I managed a fire quartz for the upcoming geologist bundle. This is actually a really significant find, as so long as I can get to the frozen mines on floor 40, I'm confident we can now complete the geologist bundle. Like I mentioned before, crab pot doesn't seem to be working in my favor, so maybe we can have better luck with the blacksmith or exotic foraging bundle options. The last day of the first week is already here, and that does mean the traveling cart is newly stocked. I really want to get crab pot done. Maybe there'll be like a lobster or a periwinkle or something at the cart. But let's not get our hopes up just yet. I do still need 2 more items to finish this bundle, but I will take this manifestation win. I was pretty confident another gift would get us to 2 hearts with Caroline, but I was just shy of the friendship points, so we'll have to hold off for another day on that one. I am putting most of my farming money and energy into potatoes, as their grow time is only 6 days and is considered a great profitable crop for spring, so I made sure to grab some more of those to plant today. I squeezed in a bit more fishing and also ran over to the mines, remaining unsuccessful in any crab drops from my crab pot bundle, but I did manage some sneakers, which is great since I didn't get any boots on floor 10. And I think the red really pops with my outfit. Week 1 finishes with 9,512 gold cumulative earned and just the first of 4 bundles complete. There's only 7 more days until we have to get this vault done, but I'm feeling pretty good, and that scares me a little bit. Week 2 begins with a letter from Dad sending 500 gold in the mail, so technically we've now broken 10k cumulative, and that feels like a great start to this second leg. But cumulative earnings are also kind of irrelevant, as we need 42,500 gold on hand to be able to purchase all those vault bundles by the 14th. I've been trying to be a bit more intentional with time usage each day, so I have built up a few things that can go up to the community center, which I go ahead and take over on the 8th. As a reminder, I am definitely focusing on some specific bundles in order to get the 4 I need for vault access, but I am still working on every bundle I normally could instead of just outright selling every free item I have. This also feels like a good time to get the backpack upgrade and is about the time I'd normally do so I went ahead and grabbed that while also running the last needed gift to Caroline to secure 2 hearts. Fortunately, today is a sunny day, so I went ahead and activated her 2-heart cutscene and honestly let out a sigh of relief because I know those tea saplings are going to start adding up. The rest of the day was devoted mainly to advancing in the mines, hoping to collect coal and maybe even an ancient seed. Unfortunately, no ancient seed, and the chest on floor 20 was a steel smallsword, so I'm starting to feel like the game is also trolling me since we've already secured our weapon for likely the entire run. This was a good mines descent as I managed 15 floors and did also collect some minerals that can be donated to the museum and sold for some extra cash. It would be really great if it rained another day this week though. Day 9 did actually bring us what would be considered iridium luck on the TV, but it is on the lower side of that scale at plus 0.79. But I said I was fishing on good luck days, so fish I shall. But not before crafting my first batch of tea saplings headed straight for the sell bin. Most of the rest of the day was spent fishing and alternating the ones caught into the smoker, but I did also manage to check the town trash can since no one of matter was nearby and completed a quest for Willy that allowed me to get my first prize ticket and those 12 free carrot seeds. In a lot of ways, this was just a grindy and kind of uneventful day, but we managed pretty good earnings with all that work. So much so that on day 10, I actually earned the greenhorn achievement, and my true reward was definitely the rain in tomorrow's forecast. It's gonna rain tomorrow. I debated the idea of upgrading the watering can, but then had to remind myself that in a normal playthrough, it would be no debate. So I went ahead and smelted the bars, swung by the museum with some donations, and then dropped my watering can off at Clint's. I'm back in the mines, but I think everyone agrees the 30s might just be the worst set of floors, but fortunately, I managed to somehow get through them before 5 p.m. and officially made it to the frozen mines in the 40s, and more importantly, this means we made it to the dust sprites. I spent the rest of the evening resetting these floors to collect as much coal as possible ahead of tomorrow's hopefully big catfish haul. Waking up on day 11 turned out to be the best case scenario because not only is it a rainy day today, it's also a high luck day with a daily luck of plus 0.100. I got another 500 gold from the mail, as well as the prompt for Robin's axe quest, which would be another 250 gold. This was another moment of personal debate, as most of my crops were grown and I'd normally go replace them, but nothing I plant today would be grown in time for a return by the 14th. However, I was able to find a few carrot seeds I collected, as well as some mixed seeds, and went ahead and got those all in the ground as a sort of compromise. I then followed that up with another personal debate about whether it would be smarter to stay on the farm to fish or head to Cindersap Forest. After a bunch of wiki consultations, self-doubt, and one too many algae caught, I ended up moving down to Cindersap after a few hours on the farm. I really wanted more catfish as they're definitely my biggest earning potential right now, but the only thing the game seemed to want to give me was more amphibian fossils. I was so unimpressed with this dinosaur egg because at this point this was amphibian fossil number 4 on this file. And for extra measure, I even secured a 5th one later that same night. My viewers were impressed by the rewards, but I sure wasn't. Dino Egg Day 11 is crazy? Yeah. Give me a trash hat. Give me something interesting. After a bit of struggle all day, I did catch some catfish, and I also managed to secure the Jewels of the Sea book, which also scored some free fish roe later the same night. To be honest, I wasn't super happy with the day's outcome until I saw that 10K in earnings roll through on the save day screen. And with earnings like those the last few days, it means Demetrius was at my doorstep on the morning of the 12th to help me secure my fruit bat cave. Fruit bat supremacy. This was another day of dropping off a bunch of artifacts and minerals at the museum, as well as some items to the community center, but at this point, I still only have 3 out of the 5 items needed for the crab pot bundle. I ran down to the beach in hopes of finding one of the remaining forage options, but there was nothing but clams again. I did then go ahead and swing down into Cindersap to get Robin's axe, which I returned later that night and popped over to the traveling cart when it was revealed that not only was today's cart absolutely stacked, but she had a snail for me. I also picked up the garlic in an effort to stay true to my playstyle and managed to hit foraging for that evening, another true to playstyle goal of mine in week 2. I swept for forage, made more tea saplings, and doubled back to the community center at midnight to drop off some fish tank items like that amazing snail from the cart. Even with such an amazing grab like that, I am still really uncertain about my bundle route. I'll be able to complete the spring crops bundle tomorrow after the egg festival, which will unlock the boiler room, and thanks to that fire quartz we got in a fishing chest, I already have everything I need for the geologist bundle, but I still need one more to access the vault. The exotic foraging bundle isn't looking great, but I do have some of what I need for both the adventurer and blacksmith bundles, and it may just come down to one of those two. I am pretty stressed at this point, but that 11K in overnight earnings did help a little bit. On the morning of the 13th, I harvested a bunch of my remaining crops and managed to hit farming 3 and even got a blackberry from the fruit bats. See, I told you they're great. I decided I would spend the first part of the day fishing since I can still activate the egg festival anytime before 2 p.m, so I grabbed my cauliflower and the materials for the geologist bundle and went up to the mountain lake. I caught as many fish as I could before scurrying down to the town to participate in the egg festival, and I was able to comfortably secure my 20 strawberry seeds. I made Abigail cry after securing 13 eggs in the egg hunt, grabbed my hat, and even caught Marlin and Marnie standing next to each other at the festival. Marlin, seriously, go get your woman. As I normally do, I ran back up to the community center to complete the spring crops bundle and grab the 20 speed grow, which I'll be using on my strawberries to secure an extra growth cycle, and went ahead and completed the geologist bundle to unlock the bulletin board. It's always super late completing bundles after the festival on the 13th, but I decided it was worth the risk to try to run down to the beach in hopes of finding forage for the crab pot. I have to get it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so failure is no longer an option on this file. And I had to take that win because as it turns out, there was still no new forage on the beach and I still had to dart back home to get the speed grow in the ground on time. Tomorrow is technically the last day, but that also means if I'm short on money, I'll have to sell directly to merchants all before their closing times, which could be easily complicated by me still needing an item for a 4th bundle. With the clock screaming at me to go to bed, I made the decision to go ahead and sell as much stuff as I could now. There's no way I'll be able to smoke all the fish I have left, so a lot of those were able to go into the bin now, along with extra minerals, crops, and even some unopened geodes. But as the night concluded, I got an achievement notification as the day's total earnings rolled in, which had to be for the 50K cumulative cowpoke achievement. In case you missed it, I went to bed with 30,002 gold on hand, and today's total earnings was 12,765. Just a few hundred more than we need for those vault bundles. Okay, it's the 14th and we have the money we need, but we're still missing at least one item needed to complete any of these 3 potential bundles. It is Sunday though, and the traveling cart has been pretty good to us so far. I decided that the plan would be to check the traveling cart, then go check the beach one last time with the main hope of either of those providing something for the crab pot bundle. If that didn't work, I'd either have to choose to go to Clint and spend 2,000 gold on gold ore for a bar, which would then require the need to make back those earnings, or risk going to the mines in hopes of managing something like a solar essence drop from a ghost. I packed up all my things and potential bundle materials and headed to the traveling cart, but unfortunately there was nothing there to help, which meant it was time to head down to the beach. That's it. That's all we needed. The muscle finally spawned on the last possible day, and we can actually get this bundle done and access the vault. So of course I ran up to the community center and deposited the world's most difficult to find muscle, only to realize my inventory was too full for the vault rewards because I had brought everything with me. So I ran down and gave Harvey a coffee and then sold a couple of items at Pier, so I had enough room for all those rewards. And after that, well, it was pretty straightforward. 2,500. 5,000. 10,000. Vault completed on spring 14 of year 1. We're going to the Desert Festival tomorrow. Well, we're headed to the Desert Festival, but here's the thing. Spending all your time in the first 2 weeks trying to get items and money to unlock the bus doesn't exactly ensure you have what you'd probably want in order to take on the Skull Caverns. Because, as a recap, we're getting ready to head to the Desert Festival with a base pickaxe, basically no bombs, and no ability to craft them, no rings, no star drops, almost no food, no items to exchange for things like mega bombs or spicy eels, no buffs from various statues, sneakers as my only defensive boot, and skills at Mining 3 and Combat 2. But hey, the challenge was about getting there, maybe not so much surviving it, right? Of course, the Desert Festival has tons of other activities and experiences to check out, and we'll definitely get a sample of some of those while we're here, but as a Skull Cavern focused player, that's obviously part of the actual main goal for me. My normal gameplay timelines usually have me unlocking the desert around the last week of spring to the first week of summer with an intent to access the caverns upon my first arrival to the desert within a few days of unlocking it. And when I do so, I'm usually able to get about 50 to 70 floors into the caverns on my descents prior to acquiring a prismatic shard and galaxy sword. But I do think these 3 days will be a little more modest in accomplishments. The main goal I really settled on was hoping that we'd be able to get Marlin's Desert Festival quest of being able to make it 30 floors in the caverns in one in-game day, so it would be great to see and successfully manage that. I'd love to also manage a prismatic shard, even though I can't unlock the galaxy sword until festival's end since the map changes for these 3 days, but like I said, this is all we've got, so who knows what'll happen. On the 15th, I obviously haven't been to the desert before and have no choice but to wait for the bus. I did manage to save up enough Omni Geodes to exchange for totems for the rest of the week, but I used this opportunity to keep up with the farm and do a quick search for some salmon berries since these are a primary food source for me and their days unfortunately overlap with festival days. But once Pam arrived at the bus stop, I went ahead and grabbed a ride to the Calico Desert. It's still genuinely crazy to think I'm actually here at the festival in the first year, but I only let that distract me for a moment before exchanging those Omni Geodes and completing the trivia activity so I could swap the Calico Egg reward for a few Mega Bombs. I ended up waiting until everyone had arrived since I got here later in the day anyways, and used Emily's outfit service and grabbed my free cactus before facing the Skull Cavern challenges. The choices today were either collect 12 Omni Geodes or slay 10 serpents, and normally I just default to the highest value challenge, but I wasn't convinced I'd be able to clear enough stone to find the Omni Geodes and went serpents this time instead. It is still my goal to get to floor 30, and I really thought this was a great start to a dive, managing a shoot on floor 3, taking me 7 floors on the first jump, but that was immediately ended on the next floor when I got a slime-infested floor. I arrived to this floor at like 2 p.m. and spent basically the entire rest of the day trying to clear the floor, but that Neptune's glaive and lack of healing foods really can only go so far. Gil wasn't very impressed when I had to give up for the day, but we've got 2 more tries to hopefully show a little more skill. On day 16, after grabbing a few more salmon berries for emotional and health support, I warped back over to the festival and managed the level 30 quest, so we're really locking in today. Except The nice thing with floor 1 though is you can technically just reset until it spawns one of the mummy floors, which won't be infested, to bypass the rough start. And after I did that, this was a much better descent as I got several chutes that helped me move really well through the caverns.
Is this what it feels like when you're a god and you become man?
Don't worry though, I got humbled yet again. A few people in the chat kept making the joke that this was the game's way of telling me I wasn't supposed to be here, since based on game design, it seems like you're not really supposed to be able to access the festival at this point, and yet here we are. My bombs only managed to go so far as well, and there were plenty of floors I had to mine by hand, but I did manage to make it past floor 30 to floor 33 before running out to grab rewards and check vendors. Except I ended up getting maybe the literal worst pair of vendors possible, and I couldn't even get the magic hair gel because as I haven't unlocked mastery yet, this item doesn't appear in Alex's stock list currently. The good news is I did manage a ruby and diamond in the caverns, so I will be able to exchange them on day 17 for extra speed buffs, and Marlon even offered the 30 floor quest again, so it's another chance to see how far we can actually push that. But that didn't seem to be enough to stop the infested floor I got again, this time on floor 2 in the caverns. Yeah, I really think I'm not supposed to be here yet according to the game. I did a few resets and somehow it cleared the floor 2's infested floor, and it actually ended up being a much better run with several chutes and an easier descent. When it was all said and done, I decided to back out at floor 39 so I could really experience a few moments of the rest of the Desert Festival activities before it ended, and hey, even if Gil wasn't too impressed, I personally was. I decided to use my calico eggs to buy a periodic table from Demetrius ahead of a Harvey marriage, and was going to buy a dark velvet bow as an amazing personal year 1 flex when I realized I was actually short a couple of calico eggs, so I did have to go back into the caverns really quick to find some. I still managed to secure the bow though, and memorialize my time in the festival caverns in year 1 before it officially came to an end. So there you have it. In all honesty, I wasn't convinced I'd be able to do this on my first attempt and was anticipating maybe having to try a couple of times or tweak my strategy to really figure out how I could optimize and do my best. If you want to watch the entire unedited playthrough, you can do so on my VOD channel. I did complete it over the course of 2 days of streams, which was in total about 6 to 7 hours of full gameplay. This was a super fun challenge though. I would love to see other people try it out. I know there have been other people that have given it a go before themselves, so if it's something you want to try out, maybe some of the things that you see here will help you be able to do so. But if I'm being fully honest now, I want to choose a Riverland farm every single time I play, because now that I know that I can unlock the Desert Festival in the first year, I'm gonna want to do it every time. That's it for this video, however. Hopefully you enjoyed watching it, and maybe if you want to give it a go for yourself, you'll have to let me know what you did that worked for you. But of course, as always, if you enjoyed watching this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button, and if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.